Hi there, once again, and thanks for watching. This time, the last time we were talking about portfolio management and did some demo. This time we actually wanted to cover a complete new topic, which I think, have mentioned the last time a little bit that we will go and talk about, and this is resource management.
Yes, hi everyone. Once again, resource management. Okay, I think let's start maybe from the beginning. Where do we use, or what do we use resource management for? I think it's quite a, let's say, obvious term, which probably covers quite a lot of aspects of what you do in your everyday life. Maybe not as, I don't know if you are doing it as structured as some of the leading companies that really have expert processes in resource management. But then maybe we could start with a bit of an intro of what resource management covers.
So, I mean, from a theory, and I would not go too much into this detail, what you do with resource management is really to take care and to make sure that whenever you go into a project, that you have the people on board at the time you need them for the tasks you want to assign them. I think that's the best description. But that's actually where problems normally start, because as you said, if you do it in a not too structured way, you will immediately end up in firefighting. And I think that's at least what we see in many of our customers. That's what's happening before you start really to a certain degree professionalize the whole topic.
Yeah, I think when I think about resource management, for me, maybe also one of the more important things is not just to have the people available, but generally have the optimal amount of people available throughout the whole year or at all times. And I think proper resource management allows you to really forecast and get a good picture of how many people do you actually need for the workload that you are about to be getting, or that you are having based on historical data, based on forecasts and everything. So you don't have too much overhead with people who are not utilized too well. And you are also not getting into the firefighting mode that you mentioned, because neither option is too good.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's why it's, I think, also good that we left resource management till the end, because now actually if you look at the big picture, it comes all together, because you probably have some demands that will also, maybe not on a personal level, but on a, let's say, role level, you will have an idea how much effort this will take from an architect or a database administrator or whatsoever you need. And by knowing this, and by knowing which demands you're going to invest on within the next fiscal year or whatsoever, you can already quite ahead plan the utilization of the people. That's what we also showed the last time in the demo, where we were actually looking at the portfolios and also seeing the utilization of the different roles. And I think that's important, and that's where the resource management can really be beneficial for an organization, not only by having the people on board, but by also making sure that the utilization is on a steady level. And by having the demands included, you could also quite well plan ahead for the next year. And if you want to probably hire somebody, or you then see you need more and more external personnel, which is of course more expensive. So also differentiation on that part is important. And if you don't do that, you will never have a clear picture on the costs of your projects, actually.
Yeah.
In the end.
Yeah, I think, yeah. So as you said, why it's very important is because most of the project costs, of course, it can be different, but I think especially in the IT sector and software development sector, most of your cost comes from resource cost. So there is no physical, I don't know, you're not purchasing a warehouse. So most of the project cost will come from that. So actually, this is a great tool for making sure that your resource costs are really on an optimal level in the long run.
Yeah.
And I think there are a lot of companies that track it somehow. So I've seen a few people or a few companies with really innovative solutions that are really custom made, that can, I think not in the long run, but that can support momentarily their processes or having an overview of their resources. Most of the time it requires quite a lot of maintenance though. So that's again resource cost, right? If you have to pay attention and maintain a system a lot, then that costs quite a lot of money, even though the initial investment might not be that big. And then I think we can get onto what really proper software can offer when it comes to your resource management. And once again, I think we will go to the two systems that we are familiar with and that we work with on a regular basis.
Yeah, I think that would make sense. So let me just quickly pop up my screen for a second. So, I mean, in general, if you really talk about resource management, I think there are a few important aspects. So that the first thing is that you, of course, have one central solution. And as you said, there are lots of tools out in the market which are more or less sophisticated, really depending on your requirements. And I think especially in resource management, there you will be able to see a, how should I say, a maturity level growing quite fast. Because if you start doing it from the beginning, you will not be having all the data at hand that you probably need to be really completely efficient. So it will be something that you will start with. And then you can easily start working on these details. And this is just a standard dashboard. But I think there are some key aspects that you should look at if you're going to choose a tool as well. And I would go through this in the two solutions. Yeah. But on a theoretical level, I would say it's on the worst thing, of course, is that you can manage the capacity, meaning that you have your resources in the system centrally, know how much they are working, which is also important because you can have people that only work part-time or that are only available part-time for projects and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
The second thing is that you have the costs associated to this, so that you have some sort of cost rate matrix assigned to that you can differentiate between internal and external resources. And the
Or
third
even
thing
different
is
roles, right? So
different
it can be
roles,
that, yeah.
Countries, whatsoever. If you're a big company,
Indeed.
you have different cost levels in different countries as well.
Yeah.
And the third thing I would say that it's important that you have the ability also to track the time directly in the same system where the people work on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to also ask you. That I think that's very important as well. So it aggregates the times that you actually spend. So you plan ahead how much they should spend on a certain task, on a certain project, and then you can really check back with a glance. So
Yeah.
I think what we see also in here, and also one of the strengths that I think only really software or solution can give you is information at a glance. So
Exactly.
whenever you come here, there is countless amount of dashboards that you can create in these systems, but I think you really need to have a sophisticated solution in order to you need to make decisions fast, right? So especially in an IT company or a software development company, you are making decisions fast, and these one glance dashboards are the ones that really support you
Yep.
in that. And I think that's really a key strength.
Yeah. And independently of the name of the solution, yeah, things like, okay, I have demands and projects, that you can differentiate between what is already planned and what is currently somewhere in the pipeline. Yeah? This
Yeah.
is exactly what you want to know from a resource manager perspective, which is actually the person I'm using here. I'm not going into these dashboards anyhow, because these are this is just a demo dashboard. But what I would like to show for a second is what you actually want to do is to have a look at, okay, how do I assess which requests I have, and I think what's important is that on the first hand, that you can differentiate between stages. So you can have like a planning stage for a request where you say, okay, I have something where a project or a demand manager is just creating these requests, but is not requesting them officially. But maybe I, from a resource manager perspective, want to see it at least at some point in time. Yeah. So And there the problems normally start, because a project manager, if you do not have it all in one solution, they will enter the request only when there is a real request, yeah, in the system, when
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
linked to each other. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so you have different stages. You can of course plan ahead, or define the
Period. Yeah.
proper time frames. Yeah. And then at the end, normally when you start, you will not request a single resource. You will always do it based on a role, because at the end of the time, okay, sometimes you will want to have one specific person. To be honest, every project manager has his or her favorites, but from a request perspective, normally you will go by a rule. And then you have the possibility to say, okay, I have a planned amount of time that needs to be spent on that project, and I then want to easily go into and say, okay, who of these people has other tasks, yeah, or has already a utilization and has availability left. And this is actually what you then go and say, okay, I'm going to confirm it as a resource manager. And that's exactly how easy it should be at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's one really powerful step forward on how you do that. Of course, you can directly just confirm it and not allocate it. That you say, okay, we have the capacity at the moment, but I'm not going to allocate a specific resource. I'm doing that by shorthand or whatsoever. Yeah, there are multiple ways of addressing this. What I also would definitely encourage, if you look at a solution, is the possibility, and I'm not going in detail in the demo, is to create so-called operational plans. So especially when we talk about IT, the people that you have in the that are available to do projects are probably also have operational tasks to fulfill.
Mm-hmm.
Like a database administrator will also have to administer a database on a regular basis.
Indeed. Yeah.
And you want to still have their full capacity available in terms of, okay, they're in the system, but still they have to do tasks on a regular basis. And you want to limit the overall availability of these resources to reflect properly in the system, but still not blocking meaningless time in calendars. Because these operational plans or these operational tasks, they can occur on purpose or can be fixed. And this is actually
Indeed.
also something you should be able to do and to track properly.
Yeah, I think it's a very powerful tool. So a lot of systems that I know, they really track only project-related tasks. So I think it's a really important aspect to have a clear picture on the availabilities of the people.
Exactly. And I'm just switching over because it's funny, although the systems are quite different. I mean, the views themselves are quite similar. Yeah, you still have a role that you want to filter on and see the availability. What I like particularly in Clarity actually is that you have a very, very decent forecast. Of course, if you have all the information together,
you
see from a request perspective for this specific role, how is the development of the availability. And you then can go into a discussion. So for example, if I then go into and say, I have a request here for one specific project, and I can then go into a conversation to the project manager and say, okay, look, we don't have the capacity for this project, for this sort of role. Can we postpone the tasks? Is this possible from your project planning perspective? Because I see, for example, in Q4, we have a much better availability for this role. Would it be possible to postpone those tasks? And that's the way how you want to work. If you're using an Excel, that wouldn't work.
Yeah, that doesn't work. Yeah, of course. Well, yeah, an Excel doesn't work, and anything else requires way too much maintenance, because you need to do exactly the same thing as in here, right? You need to enter data. But on top of that, you need to manage your workflows. You need to do a lot of things that these systems that are made, there's other people who take care of that for you, right?
Exactly. That's the point.
And usually they do it centralized. So a lot of times an investment for a software like this can seem like quite a big chunk, right? It's expensive to buy a software, regardless of what kind of software. I think if we could do a proper calculation, I think in the long run, you know, you will see the benefits.
Yes. And if you only, I think if you only take into account, independently of all the other benefits that we have discussed during the last videos with project execution, portfolio management, and everything, if you only take into account that the utilization for the project-related people and the availability and maybe the reduction of external costs that you might need in projects only because of proper planning, that could be significant. That could be really significant.
Yeah, indeed.
Okay.
I agree.
Maybe one final word, as we had three items to talk about. What I'm opening now is the timesheeting. And what I like in particular, and actually all systems that I know provide something like that, to really make it as easy as possible for the people that are working on the tasks to enter their project-related work. And one thing is here that you say, okay, I want to copy the previous timesheets, because normally, I mean, let's be honest, we're all lazy people as much as we can. And if I already have entered a timesheet for the 1 week and it's a long going project, probably I don't want to differentiate. I mean, it's like, okay, I've spent six hours per day on this project. Please copy it over. I don't want to do it independently. But when I'm going to create a timesheet, I want to make it as simple as possible. And I think that's something, when you look at a system, this is what the majority of the people will have to use at the end. So you really have to look at how easy can they do and can they provide their times, and how does the system support you. And this is things like, okay, that's actually what I want to do. Like really just going over and entering the amount of times and submitting it at the end of the day. And it should take only a few seconds. That's the point. Yeah, you get, because you do all the things, and that's the advantage of an integrated system. You do the planning in the same system as you do the recording of the times. And then you have, okay, they have specific tasks associated to that because they were planned as a resource ahead. So they then have only to enter the time and not going to look at, okay, what's the task ID of the task I was working on? It's 279905. Okay, I'm entering it.
Yeah,
I don't want to do that.
And then as we mentioned, once you timesheet in here, it really aggregates into actuals. So once it gets approved, or if there is an approval process, but then it aggregates into the actuals where you can track your actual cost for the project, and then based on that, your actual cost for the program portfolio, and basically the whole thing is integrated from really from the beginning till the end.
Exactly. No, and I think that's important. And as you said, to buy a project portfolio management system or to think about implementing one could seem to be expensive in the first run. But if you really start thinking of the different benefits that you can achieve at the end, I mean, one of the reasons why we are still, since more than 10 years now in the business, is because it pays off at the end. Yeah. It pays off from a professional perspective. It pays off from a financial perspective as well. And it's if it's really used, and maybe if you not overwhelm it right from the beginning, but really start to gradually improve the whole processes and the whole system, it can be really, really beneficial for the complete organization, and not only for, let's say, the top management, but also for the people that have to use the system on a daily basis.
Yeah, indeed, I agree. I think when it comes to resource management and timesheeting, what I wanted to mention is that there are I have met. So in my previous company, we also had the timesheet. And a lot of people felt like it was micromanaging because the bosses wanted to see what we were doing. I think that's a people challenge that people need to understand, that it's not about you and what you are doing, but now you see the bigger picture, why you need to timesheet. Your timesheeting is not because they want to see how well you're working. The timesheeting is because they want to see what actually is spent on a certain project or on a certain task. And if they see that you are not utilized well, by the way, it's not good for you either, because you're probably bored, and I'm sorry, but maybe in the short run it seems fun to be a bit bored, but in the long run it's not beneficial for you because you're not going to feel like you're properly utilized. So it's a win-win situation.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really powerful tool on a personal level as well.
Yeah.
If the message goes through properly.
Absolutely, and it's also for the project managers or whoever is responsible, really, whether it's a project manager or product owner. If you're going more into the agile world, then I think it's important to also notice whether the initial plan from a timing perspective, so the initial estimations were correct or not.
Yeah,
also,
it's a good feedback.
Yeah, exactly. And if you always underestimate the effort, if you do not timesheet and have all these, let's say, next to each other, all these figures, you will never notice probably. In the end, it's just okay, we overspent budget by 20%, but you don't know why in detail, and that could really help.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Good.
That's it for today.
Yeah.
To be
Thanks,
honest,
Manuel.
yeah, it was quite fun as always. I think for the time being, as it's now summertime, we are probably going to make a little bit of a break this time, but I'm pretty sure we will come up with some new stuff somewhere in fall or a little bit later. So let's see. Once again, the reminder, if you have any things that you would like to see or to talk about, just let us know.
It was fun. Bit of a holiday, and then we'll be back, I'm sure.
Exactly. So in any case, whatever you're going to do, enjoy it, stay safe, and see you next time.
See you. Bye-bye.